regulations that make it possible for them to actually have their goods going to different places. So, for instance, there is a regulation known as REACH that companies have to be due diligent to. That's the English we like to use.
Okay.
They have to like be due diligent on that, and because they have to be due diligent on it, we help them survey their suppliers, get information on that REACH regulation, and then tell them what to do or make recommendations. Like, we don't tell them what to do, but we just make recommendations because, trying to avoid being sued for giving bad advice.
So there's a lot of reading. I think you mentioned it the last time we spoke.
Yes.
There's a lot of reading paperwork and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of reading paperwork. There's a lot of project management. For my own role specifically, there's a lot of reading that it's involved. There's a lot of program management activities that's involved. There's also like a lot of like client FaceTime. So there's like different meetings that we get to go to. But overall, it's good. It's not like over a list for me. Let me use myself, because for some people it's crazy. Yeah. For myself, I'm able to like time manage really well, which is good. That helps me a lot. And because of that, it's not overwhelming as often as it should be. Yeah, because sometimes I have like some really demanding clients. Like, one of my worst clients is from the US. It's an automobile company that starts with H. And
crazy.
But overall, like, they're not my friends though. But it was very difficult to start off with them. But now they literally call me besties. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, when you have clients like that, it makes the work pretty difficult initially. But when you have my type of mindset, whereby the work, it's a job. It's not like my all in all. So I'm able to like time manage properly. I'm able to like spread out a lot of things that I do. So, for instance, I try my very best not to have client meetings Monday and Friday, because Monday I know I just started work from the weekend. So my mind is still not go yet. And then Friday, my mind is on the weekend. So there's no way I'm thinking about going to work. So so that's what I do overall. So Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, not the best time for me. For like social stuff, I hardly respond to anyone. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. But Fridays, that's when you start to see me responding. On Mondays, I could still respond now and then. But yeah.
Interesting. I feel like it's a good space, like the industry you work. It's like, because you studied law, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like it's a good space, because like it's that interface between law, but there's also tech.
Yes.
Which I feel like anything tech related now is like safe these days.
In a way.
Yeah.
In a way, like, tech is the industry that's been affected the most now. If you think about it, like, anytime you hear about layoff, it's almost like the tech guys are trying to beat everybody else to how many people they can lay off in a year. But I think, at least for my own company, yes, it is true. It's such an interesting industry that we are in. And what's crazy enough is that we seem to be like the leaders in it. Not seem to be. I do believe we're the leaders. We do have competitors here and there who are doing the same thing, but not at the level at which we're doing it. And also, they don't have some specific features for the software, and then also some specific professional services that we offer to clients that they don't have as well. And what's crazy is, even crazier is that they are now trying to do it. So on the professional services side, they're poaching us. They're poaching like a lot of people from my company. A guy who used to be the VP of a particular position in the company that I work for, went to a competitor, and now he's a COO. That's how they're able to get him. So he's now their chief operation officer. And then the lady who used to be a manager in the CS department for my company has now moved over again to go be the director of CS in the competition. So it's very interesting. It's a very big market. I think they said the estimate is about 4 billion or so market, and we currently are on our way to having 150 million of that particular market. Yeah, because we're like that's the next big milestone for us. Because the last milestone we're trying to get to is 100, and so next one should be like next at least in my own estimation is 150, and yet it's a $4 billion like US dollars market, not
Interesting.
even Canadian dollars where the headquarters is
Wow.
at. So yeah.
Yeah, so for anybody who's looking for a job, we'll drop something in the description.
You know what's funny?
Reach out.
People have actually been reaching out.
Oh,
That
word?
is the funniest. I'm telling you, like people
That's crazy.
have been reaching out trying to work for the company, and I'm always like, damn, wow. Me, I was already thinking, oh, like have I outgrown the company? But now seeing people coming in, I'm like, maybe not, maybe not.
Yeah, man, I don't know. Career stuff is just interesting, like that whole like progression and
It
whatnot.
is, it is.
Anyways, let me introduce. Sorry, guys, if you
Yeah.
thought this was like a career talk or whatever, this
Oh,
is not. Welcome to another episode of Release. It's me, Ola. Funto is probably going to pop in at some point. I'm not sure he is, but I'm here with a dear friend of mine, the man with the most popular name in Christendom, Ebenezer. Sorry, my throat is like I'm not feeling that well, so I can't hit the high notes. But I'm here with my friend Ebenezer, the host,
thank
founder
you,
of one of the founders of a couple of couples podcast.
thank
A
you.
very dear friend who I met. When did we meet? Like is it 2 years ago now?
Yeah, I think it's 2 years. Yeah,
That's
I think so.
crazy, man. How time flies.
2022. Yeah,
2022.
yeah, this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2022. Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah. We met 2 years ago. We met in church. I was invited to Bethel by
yeah,
it was a friend of mine who I knew from Calgary. And then I got introduced to him and to his wife and, a few friends
yeah.
through a mutual friend. But just overall great guy. I told like people, I
Thank you.
said, I'm bringing all my friends, all my wife's friends who I like having conversation with. I'm going to bring them to Release so they can share as well their wisdom. But welcome, Ebenezer, everybody. Virtual applause. Maybe Funto add something important,
Woo!
bro.
Thank you,
Are
thank
you?
you. It's a
Yeah,
pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, Ola.
of
Yeah,
course.
yeah,
Yeah,
I-
man. How like normally one of the things that me and Funto always used to start
yeah.
conversations with, like early days of Release, is just like asking, like, how are you? Like,
That's a
how are
good
you?
question. That's a
Yeah.
great question. I would say I'm good. I'm really good. Yeah, I think I'll say really good. Mainly because, well, off recent, I just had one of heart to heart conversation with my wife, so which is good. Whenever we have that, it puts me in a good place. It puts sets me on a good perspective and just adjusts some habits and just pretty much we get to point out habits that we need to work on as a couple, for future sake, because we're thinking of kids down the line in the future. So if that's the case, then there's some things we need to adjust. There's some things where we need to realize that, hey, we're no longer dating, we're now married. And then we're married, but we're no longer newlyweds type of thing. So all of those type of conversations currently right now, I'm in a good place. Yes. Ask me in another 1 week, maybe there's a different answer,
By
but
God's grace
today
is not.
I'm in a good place. Yeah.
Okay, so for the folks that don't know, you got married last year, last August, if I'm correct.
Oh yes. Was it last year? Yes, it was last. Oh my goodness.
It was
I
last
should have
August.
said
I think it was the 12th or 19th?
12th. Yes, I remember that
Okay.
part. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Good.
Yes.
Good. As you should.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
remember because my brother's wedding was like a week after.
That's true. That's true. That's
Yeah.
actually true in
A lot of
Nigeria.
folks a lot of
Yes.
folks got
Yes.
married around that time.
Yeah.
How's married life been? Actually, first of all, how long have you? Because I know Berica. How long were you guys dating before you all met? You proposed.
It was so we started dating. So here's the story behind how we started dating. We actually started dating March 11th, 2018.
Okay.
But we were like, we needed an even number date. And so we looked up the exact time.
Yeah.
The exact time was 12 a.m., March 12th. So we're like, you know
Interesting.
what? This applies more than the 11th.
But okay.
Because we were together. It was her birthday, March 11th. And so we're together, we're talking. And that's when we made the decision to start dating. And
That's
the
smooth. I like
conversation
that.
went deep into the next day, early morning or late at night, whichever one.
Those
you
are the
you want to
best.
go for. But yeah, so March 2018 we started dating, and then I proposed April 2021. No, that's off. 2022. April 2022 was when I proposed, and then we got married August 2023. So that's 5 years. Yeah, pretty
Wow.
much 5 years before, or almost 5 years before I before we got married.
Pro-
2018 to
2018 to
2023.
2021.
Yeah, that's 5 years actually. Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's 5 years.
yeah. So like 4 years plus to proposal, and then 5 years before we actually said I do. Yeah, and it's
So
been
what's
fun. Yeah.
yeah? What's
Oh
the
yeah.
story? Is it she was just, I don't know, you were at a party and then you were just there, cup in hand, and then like you looked over, I was like,
Like a cool
whoa,
guy.
yeah, and then you walked over, hey baby girl, let me spit some game or
No, I
something.
didn't. I don't think I had reads like that back then. But the story behind how we met was I was new to Canada because I came to Canada 2017, and she was already here like a year or so because I think she came 2016, and so we met at church. Actually, we met. So she was serving on the greeters team, so the guest services team. She was just at the entrance of the church, and then because I was new, I was basically filling every single department, and so I joined the production guys, and what we had to do that particular Sunday was basically lift all the equipment into the church because it's a mobile church. It wasn't a church that had owned its
I
own
see.
building, right? And so I lifted up, and then I was like, "Ooh, okay, who's that girl?" Like I know I'm supposed to be in church. I know, but
Please,
the eyes see what he
church
sees,
is your
and
eyes don't just close when you enter the church building. I beg.
as it shouldn't, right? So I saw her. I was like, "Oh, okay." And then after like the whole equipment stuff, so there you go, guys. Complete what you're supposed to do. Don't get distracted. Finish the job.
Finish the
So
job.
after
Still on
exactly,
task.
so completed the whole thing, and then I just decided I'm gonna go join them. So it was just her and another friend, now a friend, but back then she wasn't a friend. But so it was her and another friend of ours that was standing there, and then I started talking, and then I decided to play my music. So that was my reason. My reason was my music. So I
Oh,
not music that I recorded of myself, no, but
okay.
yeah, but I played like my playlist that I created. So created playlist. So I played that, and then she started to bop to it. She was like, "Oh, okay," and it was good because it was kind of like the alternative Christian music where it gets you going boom boom. And this was like the the days of Hillsong, Young and Free music. There's another band that I can't remember now. I haven't listened to them in a while. Now that I talk about it, I probably need to go listen to them again. But I played that, and then she was bopping to it, and that was where we started to talk. And then in another week, the church hosted, because this was like deep into winter, so the church hosted a Christmas dinner, and we sat and just talked for hours. And then what I started doing was leaving hints that I'm interested.
What
As
kind of
a
hints?
so one of my famous hints that I left was on my Instagram story. I posted that, wow, I just learned a lot about Burundi. By the way, my wife is from Burundi, so back then I was like, I said, oh, I just learned a lot about Burundi, and Kajinin, who is one of the big kind of like who Fela is to Nigeria, but not really at Fela level. But anyway, kind of like who Fela is to Nigeria,
Yeah.
Kajinin is that in a sense
In
to
Burundi.
Burundi. And so I put that, I posted that on my story, and she saw it. And then that was my hook, line, and sinker.
Oh
And then
shit.
in her own time, she was basically telling her friends, "Yo, like, what's happening? Like, does this guy really like me?" And da da da.
I'm like, yeah.
No, that's how it works. You need to be sure that we're on the same level. You
Level.
know. And when I did that, that then led her to say, "You know what? I need to find out what's happening." And so she plans her birthday party, and then decides that if I show up to that party, she's
Then
gonna
you are.
lay the foundation. Be like, "What's happening? Like, what are you doing?" Because me back then, I was learning all the slangs in Kirundi. Man, Kirundi is one of the languages spoken in
Dang.
Burundi. with
My guy was
French,
putting in the
right?
work.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh no, I put you have to put in the work, man. If you see a treasure that you want, put in the work.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
just how I
Yep.
always think about. That's how I've always
Yep.
viewed it.
Yep.
And so yeah, so I was able to like learn some things, and then I would just give some jabs, some funny jokes in Kirundi, and it all led to where we are today. So it led to where we are.
Shout out to Instagram, man. Uniting couples since God knows.
Like that's. I think that was my, in a way, that was my dating social app. That was
Bro,
Instagram.
okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
A lot of people act like, I don't know, like I feel like Instagram, people find it weird that like people try to talk to people on Instagram, but I'm like, I mean, it's social media
It's
app. Like
yeah,
it's you connect on social
yes.
media. Like
That's
I
what
don't
it
know.
should be. Like people shouldn't feel it's anything other than what it is, which is socializing, right? It's a medium to socialize. So unless you don't want quote unquote strangers to message you, then there are things, the features now that Instagram has, right? Like close
Yeah.
friends, for instance, you
Yep.
could post to close friends. There's also this new feature called the flip side. I think that's what it's called, where you can privately post to certain people you select, and not to your entire followers or publicly, just on the flip side. I think that's what it's called, a new
Interesting.
feature on Instagram as well. So if you want to do all of that, do that. But if you're gonna post yourself out there, then be open. Be open to interact. I mean, if someone is obviously being dumb, you know, you can define dumb.
Yep.
Exactly.
Just cut it off.
Just don't mute that person or
Yep.
completely block the person. Yeah.
I feel you. Okay, I want to find out like a bit more of your story because we've had conversations, but I don't feel like I've known much about like your background, like before you came to Canada. I know again, I even when we were talking on Friday before we recorded, when I called you, I didn't even get the name of your school, right?
Yeah.
I thought you went to Uniben. um,
Yeah. Now,
so
Unibed is
like
too rands for me. I can't do Unibed. No, I couldn't have done
crazy. Okay,
Unibed.
for anybody who listens and has gone alumni of Uniben, please, this does not represent the views of release. This is Ebenezer's views purely. Just put that out there. Um,
No, you told me to say that. I promise you guys.
please, oh please, I
I'm
beg.
joking. I'm joking. I'm
Okay,
joking.
but coming. So correct me if I'm wrong. So you did your masters in Canada. So before
Yes.
Canada, in Nigeria, you were doing your undergrad. What did you do for undergrad in Nigeria?
Undergrad, I went to Ebenezer University. I did law, bachelor's of law in Ebenezer University. That was like, I think that's 5 years program. Really did that for 5 years from 2010 until 2015. It was a wild ride.
How
There's
so?
so there is this acronym that, or rather, I don't even know if acronym is the right word. It's not acronym. It's anyway, the location where the school's at is called Okada, right?
Like the
And
bike?
it's spelled as, yes, like the bike, and it's spelled Okada. And because of how prevalent drugs were in the school, from the weed to what was famously referred to as SK, to cocaine in some instances, to codeine in some instances, to pills, tramadol, I think, in some instances as well. Because of all of that, it was sort of, in a very colloquial way, referred to as our kids are drug addicts. And it was a whirlwind. For me personally, first year, second year, I was just thrown into that. Like I just fell deep into it. First year, it started off with like cigarettes, and then it became the actual smoking weed, hanging out with the wrong crowd. Second year, the same thing. And then third year happened overall, and it was just horrendous. But before I get to what made me switch in third year, there were also events that happened in the university back then, and this was like, I think, a year after what happened in Port Harcourt with the Alu students who were brutally murdered by the villages in Port Harcourt. But for us, what we had was an issue where people who were known cultists in the university, they decided that they were going to attack one of the leaders of the then militant students that we had. So back then, the university was one of the universities that was accepting militants who had changed and wanted to go to university, and the government
Mm.
was basically the one sponsoring them. So each single militant person, I think, was estimated to cost 1 million naira. And so, yes,
Sorry, these are the militants, just for context for folks. These are the militants who, I don't know the full story, but the ones that had to.
Niger Delta,
Niger
yeah,
Delta. Yes. Okay.
yes, basically from Niger Delta. So former militants, I think that's the best way to probably put it. And so these quarters decide, oh, let's go attack this man who happened to be outside of campus at that point in time, and they set his car ablaze. So this guy was able to run, and in the bushes he called and said to his people, "Hey, these people are trying to kill me," or I really wasn't privy to what he said. But anyway, he basically rang the alarm bell. And then basically these former militants just went crazy. Throughout the night, they went to every single hostel and basically broke people's windows, brought out those who they know to be cultists back then, beat them up, and basically set some cars ablaze themselves as well. Luckily, I didn't sleep in my hostel that night. I
Crazy.
was in a hostel where one of the other leaders of the militants was, and he basically told them not to touch this hostel and keep going, right? And
Crazy.
so throughout the night, they just burnt every single car of a known cultist, beat up anyone that they saw on the road. We had people because the security men back then, we called them sheriffs, but they're not in any sense sheriffs that you know in the US. But we basically what they were was sheriffs. That's what we called them. These guys were just, they said they were taking off the uniforms and just running off and running away, taking off the uniforms. But this happened throughout the night. Maybe sometime, if my memory serves me right, from 9 p.m. until like 7
That's
p.m. the next
crazy.
day. That's how
Nine to
crazy it
seven.
was. Oh, yes. They terrorized every
Bro,
single
that's like
place.
22 hours, man. That's
Yep.
crazy.
Yep. Yeah. On the news, it just went off on the news. On the news, they were like, oh, many people have died, but we're like, nah, that's not. There were some pictures of dead bodies, and we're like, that's not in the university, but it was very scary. That was a scary time, that second year. You
How are you
even,
feeling at that time?
but like I made the worst decision coming to this university.
Mm.
I'm laughing now. Maybe this is the trauma response to how he felt.
Yeah.
But then I felt like, yo, this is, why am I here? That was
Mm.
what it felt like. I felt afraid because you knew they were going hostel by hostel, and it wasn't like you could just run anywhere because the university is deep into the town. And so if you're running into the bushes. So it's like you're just proving your courtesy by being outside anyway.
Yeah.
And then if you stay inside, who knows like who the next door neighbor, if the next door neighbor is a courteous, you don't know that in particular. I could only maybe vouch for my then roommates that I had. So everyone was like, "Oh, let's go in the ceiling," and stuff. Was like me. I was just there. You know what? I just resigned my fate to everything. I was like,
That's
whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen.
So at the time, did you know that the militant leader had that hostel protected, or you did
I
at the
didn't
time
know.
you didn't know that?
I
That's
did not know
crazy.
that. That's literally just God. That's why I said it's either I was extremely lucky or it was just God. Because that night I just decided to go to my friend's hostel and see them. And because again it was 9 p.m. Typically by like 10, 11, I'll just go to my own hostel, which wasn't far off, right? Because I stayed on campus. But at that time I was just there and I was just sitting there and we just started hearing noises and people screaming. And what then happened was, if not that the particular former militant leader now, what he did, he was smart. He just went straight to the particular entrance for the hostel, locked the door, closed it with his own padlock. Again, because again, I said the sheriffs, they all ran away. They were not there. No one was there. So he padlocked it and sat down next to it. And so when they came trying to break in and push in, he stood up and was like, nope, keep going. And we all were just thankful. No one screamed. Everyone kept quiet because they were very violent. Like we had like school authorities trying to stop or calm them down. They couldn't. Like even the following day when the police came, I still remember vividly because they didn't tell me. I saw it. The police, I think it's, I can't remember what his title was. Was it CPO or something like that? No, not CPO. But whatever it was, like he came in and he had his hands up, himself and with his fellow officers. They came in with their hands up,
The
trying to show like
police.
they come in peace. I'm not kidding you. The police did that. They didn't. It's not that they
Sounds
told me
like
I was
Nigeria.
there. Yep. I saw him. I was like, damn, these guys are next level. Like, yeah. I don't even know if it went on for longer because I say 7 p.m. because it was around that time I was able to get like a small box and I left the hostel. I left the hostel and went straight to Benin City, which wasn't far off from Okada. So I stayed there for like a week before I went back to school.
So
Back to school.
as you're fleeing the campus, and in your mind, you're just like, trying to understand, like, what's going through your mind, like in the aftermath.
Honestly, from year one, I was already like so doubtful about the
Mm,
school because I also had like a traumatic first day in the
mm,
university because I went to go take a shower on my first day and rather than water coming out, it was rat poop. It was lit. I'm not even kidding you. Rat poop came out from that shower, and I was already emotional when my parents dropped me off, and so I just went to my bed and cried. I've said the story so many times,
oh
but
my
I still remember
days.
vividly seeing it, like ready to take a shower to refresh, and it was rat poop. And yep, so I was already like, this university is not it. Like, why am I here? And
Hmm,
so going back, I was like, there's no way I can come back here. But I was just more happy to be away from the place more
hmm,
than anything. I was questioning a lot of decisions on coming to university because I chose to stay in university in that first year because they gave me the admission first. That's
hmm,
the only reason why. Because I actually had an admission with Covenant University, another private
hmm,
university in Nigeria, but they gave me the admission 1 week after I had said yes to
hmm,
Ebenezer. So I hadn't even gone yet.
hmm.
So I was like, oh, David, I already said yes to these guys and already paid the school fees. It's going to be a whole hassle trying to
Yeah.
get the school
Fine.
fees back
Yeah.
and try to move
Hmm,
again because Covenant is in Ogun State, Ota, and
hmm.
Ebenezer is in Edo. It's farther
It's
away
far, yeah.
from Abuja where I am. So I'm like, let me just stay where I am. Plus, back then I still had my grandparents alive, so I could easily go
Yeah.
see them as well, right?
Yeah.
So that was the only reason why I stayed back in that university.
Mm,
And so I questioned all of that in the second year, but I still went back. I went
hmm,
back because I was like, we have to finish it. We started
hmm.
it.
So that experience in particular, the whole cultist militant, battle, like, did that, I would imagine, like, in my mind, that just seems so traumatic. Like,
It is. It was. Yeah.
like, did that do anything to you? Like, I don't know. Like, I remember, and I asked because I've had a few experiences in my life that, like, it's like in the aftermath that you realize the impact. I remember actually almost to today, I think it was 5 years ago, I was in a Greyhound bus,
Yeah.
and the Greyhound bus crashed on the side of the road while I was like
Damn.
returning to Vancouver. I was coming from
Damn.
the Okanagan, and like I wasn't like injured badly or whatever, but
Yeah.
I remember, anytime I would enter public transport, anytime I would enter the train, even on a plane,
Uh, yeah.
when there was turbulence or anything shake, my body would just start like trembling. And it took a while. Like I didn't realize until after I was like, dang, like this is trauma like manifesting in my body.
Yep. Yep.
Did you have like any sort of like response? Did it change the way you thought about it? Did you carry yourself differently? You know.
I see what you're asking.
Mm,
I think for me, the way I've always responded to traumatic events, like I said, when I was laughing, right? I've
mm,
always had like a very like it's a very weird perspective and
mm,
response that I have. to it because that particular event only just made me hyper aware.
Mm.
So I became hyper aware to societal like castes, like
Mm.
friendships that
Mm.
I was making, right? That was my
Mm.
own response. So from that event, I no longer was trying to just be friends with anybody that's anybody
Mm.
because I didn't want to be, pointed at to say, oh, he's friends with this guy, so they're probably in the same
Mm. Like
court,
watching your
you know?
associations.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And then I also then started to make friends with some of
Mm.
the former militant leaders. They became some of my
Mm.
best friends. So that was my own response to
Mm.
that particular event.
Mm.
And I think that that makes me even think more of other events too that happened during the university because
Mm.
it switched completely. Because remember when I said like third year, it all changed for me,
Yeah.
right? Because in third year, one of the things that made me stop like indulging in
Mm.
the
Drugs.
drugs and stuff like that
Mm.
was the fact that I think I went to go buy something to eat, and
Mm.
then some guy just saw me on the road on my way back to the hostel late
Mm.
at night. This is probably like maybe 8 p.m. thereabout, something like that.
Mm.
And we just meet, and then he stops me and be like, he was obviously under the influence of something,
Mm.
and he just go, "Oh, my guy, open your eye," and pops two pills in my hand and walks away. And then I'm like, is this going to be my identity? Like,
Hmm.
is this who I'm going to end up being? The
Pain.
guy who someone
Hmm.
can just come and pop
Pills in
those
some other
pills
person's
in his
hands.
hand or
Hmm.
like give drugs to? Because then I'm like, what do you see me as? Who do you know me as? Like,
Hmm.
why did you feel so confident to come to that?
Hmm.
And I remember so vividly right now, and I've always said this story. I threw away the the pills and I
Hmm.
just walked straight to my hostel.
Hmm.
And this was third year, and I just prayed.
Hmm.
I was like, God, no more,
Hmm.
no more. I don't want to do this.
Hmm.
And as God will have it, it just stopped.
That's cool.
The cravings that I used to have
Hmm.
for certain drugs wasn't there again. I don't know how to explain it
Hmm.
because I know it wasn't willpower or
Hmm.
anything like that.
Hmm.
But the moment I even realized that it wasn't there was when one of my friends who was also trying to stop, he came to me and he was like, "Yo, I really envy you." And I'm
Hmm.
like, "What do you mean you envy me? Like, what?
Hmm.
We're all suffering here in this
Hmm.
university. It's not like I'm doing any better than
Yeah.
you are, right?"
Hmm.
And then he's like, "No, I envy you because how are you able to stop taking this thing? Because me,
Hmm.
I did." To quote him, "I did try, but they work." Type of thing. And I'm
Hmm.
like, "Yo, I can't explain." But at least back then, what I could explain or how I would explain it is that my mom's prayers
Hmm.
were working.
Hmm.
That was the way I could explain it. I was like, thank God for my mother's prayers.
Hmm.
That's what saved me, you know. But now I can also say that part of it too was the fact that I took a step of faith
Hmm.
as well, knowing that that is not my identity. That is not who God has called me to be. I'm
Hmm.
not called to be the person who should not use his brain or need to be
Yeah.
under the influence or something like that. So yeah, like
Hmm.
that's my that's
Hmm.
my story in
Well,
Ebenezer
hmm. I'm so
overall.
sorry. We're gonna go like just
Okay.
pause real quick because my camera just completely died on
Yeah,
me.
I saw that. He did the
Yeah,
RGB thing.
man. Honestly, the way we have suffered this thing. So I'm gonna pause real quick and then
Okay.
plug it in and then we'll continue.
Okay.
Please follow us on Instagram and TikTok at release.pod.
This is the mess that we show you people. We're not perfect, man. There's no this. I'm literally in my living room, so like
Don't
it's not gonna
worry.
be perfect.
We'll all get to that point. We'll be in the studio.
Ah, amen.
We'll be
That's
in
the
the
goal.
studio recording,
That's the
chilling.
goal. That's the goal, man. Ah, trust me,
Yeah.
if that's Funto's goal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
before my camera really interrupted me, you were describing, that moment where you had that decision that like you were going
Yep.
to stop. I'm curious, like what or like not like God delivered you.
Yes.
from the drug use and all that stuff. Which man, that just speaks to like the power of God. I remember like my brother shared his testimony with me
Mhm.
because his was different. It wasn't drugs, but his vice at the time was pornography and
Mhm.
women and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And there was a point where he just had an encounter, and it just died in
Hmm.
him. And sometimes, like I hear that, and I feel so jealous sometimes because I feel like for someone like me, so I'm just
Yeah.
doing this thing again. For someone like me, I don't feel like I've ever had, like that like Saul to Paul kind of,
Hmm.
because like when I
Hmm.
hear something like that, it's almost like, you had a road to Damascus kind of,
Encounter.
encounter, and
Yeah.
there's something just like changed in you. I'm
Yeah.
curious what your faith journey was like before that point.
Before
Like
that point,
before that point, yeah.
so because I grew up like in a Christian home, my faith
Mm-hmm.
journey was off and on. I was probably the literal definition of the zigzag, like up and down,
I
up
feel
and down
you.
type of
I feel
Christianity.
you,
That's what I was practicing. So
bro.
so I would go to church. I
Mm,
would go to church, but never really listen to
mm,
anyone. Right? Never really actually assimilated anything that was being taught. Like
mm-hmm.
I want to believe I was smart
Yeah,
enough to actually keep up with what was happening.
yeah.
Like as a kid, that draw your sword. I would do it. I would go
Oh,
study where all the 6 to 6 books are
book.
at, and I would do all of that.
Yeah.
That was the level of my faith journey.
Mm,
Performance. That was just where it was.
Look,
Performing
Ebenezer, one sec.
Christianity.
I'm going to
Yes.
change to my phone because I'm
No
just
problem.
done
No
with this thing
problem.
now. So I'm going to pause real quick to do that.
No problem.
If you want to help, you can send money. I'll put my like down below. Help our ministry. Okay, sorry, Ebenezer. So you were talking about your faith journey being more
Yeah.
performance. You can
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So it was more performance. It was more
Mm,
performance, performing for my parents' approval,
mm,
performing for the nod, or maybe that
mm,
person to be like, okay, yeah, he's a Christian, yeah, no problem. Yeah. And that's what it
mm,
was. It was more all of that than anything else. And
mm,
so that's why at that point I really can't explain why that was the switch. I can't
mm,
explain it. I don't even know if that person that I met with
mm,
is a real person. I don't even
mm,
know because that
mm,
person is not someone I knew or
mm,
know of
mm,
right back then. All I remember is that that person was male. I remember
mm.
the story as I said it,
Yeah,
the account as I said it. Other than that, I don't recall who that person was till
that's
tomorrow
crazy.
for whatever reason. So
Mm,
until then, it was just for show. That's what it
mm,
was. Showing off my Christianity, showing off that I knew the Bible, showing off that
bro.
you can't outsmart me when it comes to figuring out
Mm,
what this person did, that person did. You couldn't
mm,
outsmart me in explaining Bible stories or giving
mm,
reasons and stuff like that. So that was all it was for me. And so, but from that point on,
mm,
what literally happened was like I think a month or two, or close to 2 months, I joined the fellowship
mm,
in the university. When I
mm,
joined that fellowship, I then joined the prayer team in that fellowship.
mm.
That's where the transformation just
Started.
started for
Mm.
me. And it's a long journey. Like it doesn't mean now that I'm
Just
holy as in
Saint
thou.
Saint
Absolutely not.
Ebenezer.
Absolutely not. Doesn't mean that. Like right now, it's still a journey. It's
Mm,
still a journey of me being human and
mm,
allowing God be God overall.
mm,
But at the same time, it doesn't mean that I'm basically going around
mm,
sinning. Absolutely not.
mm,
Because that shouldn't be the case, as Paul said to the Romans, right? Like you can't say, oh, you've
mm,
sinned grace, and that means it's an excuse to just go on sinning.
yeah,
No
Romans
way.
6.
So you basically need to set yourself straight, like things will happen as human
Mm.
beings. Even Paul said he had the thorn in his flesh. We don't know
Yep.
what it is, but he
Yep.
definitely was telling us that something
Something was
was.
bothering him.
Yes, exactly. So
Mm,
we all have
mm,
something that's going to bother us.
yep.
But what's important is the journey, and from then on, the journey started, and that's where I started to get like firm, like
Mm,
very firm in my faith.
mm, mm,
And I think I've said this previously too to like some of my friends where I'm like, look, even if the scientists come and say, "Oh, here is solid proof there is no God," I will still die in my
Believing.
gullibility and say there's
Amen
God.
to that.
That's what it's going to be for me. Like nothing's going to shake that faith for me. And so,
Mm.
be that being my first step, my next step now has just been getting to know more about who God is as a person and not just who God is as a figure or a spiritual being, just God the person.
Mm.
And that has always been my journey because back then, as part of the prayer group in the fellowship, one of the events or programs that I held, I basically tagged it intimacy with God, and in that program, I was trying to get my fellow students, and still to tomorrow, what I'm hoping to get everyone I encounter is to get close to God in the sense that when you are on your bed with your head on your pillow, when those thoughts are crippling you, who is it that you speak to? Is it to those thoughts, or do you speak to the Holy Spirit who is right there waiting for you to call on him, waiting for you to acknowledge that he's in the room, right? And that's where the intimacy starts from. And that's what has always helped me overall. And that's what has sort of molded my perspective when it comes to Christianity and my thoughts towards how my life used to be before. Because, like, there's nothing that I didn't do previously in my life, except thankfully sleep around because maybe I'd have gotten somebody pregnant. But but when you think of what could be bad in the book, I checked the boxes
Everything.
horribly, right? And it's not a badge of honor. It's just to let you know that I was very dirty, but yet God decided to like save me in that very state, right? Because what if I never met that person, right? What will I be today? What would have become of me? Because it was from that moment I changed that God started to plant things in my heart on what my future is going to be like, right? And for example, one of the things he planted back then was I started having this dreams of me being out of place, me feeling like I'm not supposed to be where I am right now. And I was like, but I've stopped smoking, I've stopped doing this, I've stopped doing that. Like, why am I still having this feeling? Like, I'm in fellowship, it didn't make sense. But as God will have it, the pastor who I had invited to come talk about intimacy with God, right? I basically went to him and I was like, yo, look, I've been having this feeling for the past few weeks that I'm not supposed to be here, like I'm out of place. And then that's what he told me. And he was like, he sees me walking on streets of snow. And that's what got me going, oh, okay, maybe it means I have to travel. And he was like, yep. And this is me long before I had any plans to do my master's, because this was like fourth year being in Ebenezer. So I still had one more year in Ebenezer and then another year in law school. So my mind wasn't on doing masters yet, but he literally said that, right? And this was like late 2014 thereabout, maybe early 2015 thereabout. And I didn't come to Canada until 2017, right? And so God just started putting things like that in my heart, started putting things like that, bringing it to my full knowledge and into my, like just for me to see it, that it's coming, that there are different things that's going to come. And that also has added to my patience too, as a person, right? Because if I took what that man said in 2015 and wanted it to happen immediately, I would have rushed everything, right? Maybe I likely wouldn't have gone to law school in Nigeria. And that was a great experience, even though it had its own things here and there. But it was still a great experience because I made some good friends there and stuff. If I rushed it, there are things that I would have missed, right? And same now with some of the things that God has been putting in my heart too, is not to rush it, like one step at a time. And sometimes my wife gets very concerned about it because she's like, I want action. I'm like, yeah, but don't rush your action, like, because she's very action oriented, like she's a faithful woman, like
Full of
but
faith.
yes, but still she really is the type of person that wants to see things happen, right? But me, I'm the type of person that's like, okay, God, you said this is gonna happen. All right, I'm gonna wait. And in my waiting, I'm going to make sure that I position myself. So I started to prepare. So I prepare in whether it's preparing by praying, whether it's preparing by talking to certain people, whether it's preparing by reading certain things. That's the type of person I am. So I don't quickly go, okay, go do this, go do that type of person, no matter what it is. I'm always very methodological with how I step into what God is preparing me for, because I look at the lives of the Bible characters, right? Or I hate calling them Bible characters, but
Because
it's the best way
yeah.
to describe them for now. But when you look at how Jesus walked with the disciples, it wasn't, I'm going to make you fishers of men. The next day they became fishers of
Tomorrow,
men.
yeah.
It didn't happen that way. They had a long journey. Like they
Mm.
stayed with him and they didn't even understand what was happening, to the point where they were all fighting for earthly things. When you think about it, like they were literally fighting for who's going to sit on the
Sit
right
on
and the
your
left
right
hand.
hand.
Like, and just like, what are you saying? Like, you don't get it. Like, why are you looking for position on earth? Why are you looking for accolades? Because in essence, what they were looking for is the praise of man to say, "Oh, you did it," or "Oh, you truly served God." Absolutely not. That's not what it is. Because there are some people who are meant to quietly serve God. You know, there's some people who are meant to loudly serve God, and these are things that some people don't want to hear because they want to be on fire for God. But what is God asking you to be for Him? Right? You have to ask Him, what do you want me to be for you? And so for me personally, I don't rush it. I don't rush it at all. I basically ask Him, what do you want me to do? Okay, like, what's the plan? Who can I learn from? Who can I talk to? Who do I need to share with? Like, what new skill do I need to acquire? And that's why every position for example, every position I've held in Canada when it comes to job, as we are talking about job earlier, I always learn something on a personal level, aside from excelling in the role. So if it is to hone my persuasion skills, how to persuade people, I learn how to do it. So if there's going to be that difficult colleague that gets on my nerve, I personally make it my mission to turn that person into a friend. And I've done that twice successfully in my current role. Because there's a particular person who we didn't agree on how a project should go. And he basically went to his manager to go say, I'm being difficult. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm being difficult? Right. But eventually, what I started doing was I started complimenting their work. I started telling them, wow, you did such a great job with that thing. Not to mess with their psyche, but truly, I was doing that to let them know that at the end of the day, I want to work with you. I want to
Yeah.
make sure that you see me as a person that you could work with. In essence, you see me as a good person, not as someone who is trying to make your life difficult or as a
Yeah.
bad person, right? And in doing that, that particular person now is now my friend. We literally work on projects, and the managers are confused. They're like, I thought we had meetings for you guys trying to make you guys work. How are you guys now paddies? I'm like, that's how life goes, right? Like it's just the beauty of perspective, having a perspective that Christ did, having the type of perspective that He did here on earth. And His perspective was one step at a time, because at 12 years old, He could have easily started. We were told that He almost did, but then He realized that, oh, I need to be obedient, and He chilled. He chilled until year 30, and then went on for 3 years. Nothing stopped him from doing it age 31, or even doing it 6 months into being 30, but he still did it for 3 years and is still doing it, still exercising patience, like long suffering,
So,
waiting for as many people as possible to join the fold, right? So all of that, just to get back to the point about when God calls us to do something, when God puts something in our heart, it's a process. It's you have to be patient. You have to be, and literally, it literally is one of the fruit of the spirit. It literally is. You can't
Ebenezer.
develop love or kindness. What
I don't
happened?
like.
What
Now I'm
happened?
screaming. I don't like this,
Look at you screaming.
bro. Because like it's just crazy as you're talking about this. The one word that God has
Yeah.
just been like screaming at my heart.
Yes.
It's just patience.
There you go.
I remember I was at the mall
Yeah.
And I was thinking about like a situation that I'm
Yeah.
in, and as it was just running through my mind, it's something where I was like, God, oh, this person's not just getting the point, and like, like why can't they just? And randomly, some like little girl was walking beside her
Yeah.
dad, and she was like, "Patience, dad," and I just started laughing.
Wow. Wow.
I just started
Look
laughing.
at God.
I
Such
was
a
like, sure,
such a
okay,
such a funny sense of humor God
okay.
has.
Bro, it's crazy. So as you're talking, man, it's just like the conviction that's rising in me. Sorry to cut you off. Like,
No,
just,
no, it's
man.
good. It's good. Like that's a great story because that also makes me think of like something I've been praying for as well myself. I've been praying for like God to speak to me through things that I expose myself to. So like through movies, because I always get so I find it so interesting when I don't know if it's real for them, but anyway, I don't want to believe there's a reason they will lie, but there are reasons people lie anyway. But
Yeah.
when those pastors would say, like, I was just watching the movie and then the Holy Spirit spoke to us, like,
Yeah.
how? 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 Like,
Yep.
to be able to do that, like to recognize that the Holy Spirit is talking to you in that moment, because that's what happened with you.
Yep.
Because if you weren't attentive, attuned to the Holy Spirit, there was no way you could have recognized that that girl saying patience is related to what you were
True.
saying, because she wasn't talking
Yep.
to you, she was talking to
It
her
would have
dad.
just been something random like you heard.
Exactly. You would
Yeah.
just, or you might not even,
Or you
you
might
may
not
not
even
even
pick it
hear
up.
it, right? Yeah. So that's why it reminds me of things like that. I'm like, I'm watching the movie and I'm like, what's the lesson in here? Like, I just don't want to only laugh or be like, damn, that's a good, gun fight scene. Like,
Yeah.
maybe there's,
I
maybe
feel
there's
you.
something in there.
I feel
But
you.
yeah,
Yeah, I love what you said there. Like on the whole, like first of all, the disciples not getting the point. The
yes,
whole story about Jesus, he could have literally started showing signs of the Messiah from like 12. Ministry didn't start until like 30.
yeah,
And it's one of the things that I've been meditating on a lot about. Like the way of God is oftentimes slow,
yes,
and that is so hard to reconcile with as a human being.
yes.
Notwithstanding a human being in the 21st century,
Oh, yes.
where instant gratification is literally like the
Everywhere.
modus
Yeah,
operandi
paramount. Yeah,
of our society. So like it's crazy, man. Like, and you're so right. Like, like fruits of the spirits, joy, peace, patience.
yeah,
Love is patient.
yep,
Like
yep.
it's man, it's just it's such an interesting lesson, man. And I always appreciate people who, take more of like a slow approach to things, because I feel like this is why God is dealing with me in a very, specific way on these issues, because
Yeah,
I'm the kind of person where it's like, I want this now. Oh, like let's push for this now.
yeah,
Oh, let's get this now. Oh, there's this project. I have all these ideas. Let's do this. I'm always just like, let's get it now.
yeah,
And it's such a pruning process,
yeah,
like when you come face to face with honestly, when you come face to face with something that is not really of God, but is how you've operated with for a long time, and like having to come to terms with like, man, like God actually like, because I was watching a sermon yesterday and it was basically talking about how God cuts, certain things out of our lives so that we can bear fruit, so the whole
yeah,
pruning analogy,
yeah.
right? But
Yes.
it's a painful, it's bro, it's so painful, having to like, I don't know, man, bro. And it's when I say this word has just been flying everywhere. I told my
Been
mom
looking for
about
you.
like, bro. I told my mom, I was like, maybe God is trying to teach you patience. I was like, fair enough,
Oh, there you go.
fair enough. I was walking to the gym. I was walking to the gym. I saw on somebody's bumper, patience,
Patience.
student driver.
There you go.
I was
There you go.
like, I get it. Just pour this thing on me, sharp, sharp. Just to speak on the irony of how much I'm unwilling to learn this thing, right?
Yep. Yeah.
But that's so good, man. That's so good what you shared.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's part of my principles in life. It really is part of my principles in life. That is no rush, like and even in the no rush, there's something that I always apply next to it. And that's something I learned from my dad, and which he says a lot. And it's in the Nigerian pidgin. He says overtaking is allowed. Like because somebody is speeding now, or because this idea looks like it's now or never type
Yeah.
of thing,
Doesn't
doesn't mean that it's the only time it will come, and that's very hard again for some people to understand because of their own perspective, right? But I take that perspective, the fact that there's a time to be slow and there's a time to be fast. And then our friend Solomon, who lived a fast life, in his old age, wrote Ecclesiastes for us and told us there's a time for everything.
Everything.
You get. So that's a lesson that you either learn at a young age or you learn it at an old age. Right? And because of that, when you're able to understand that concept or understand that principle, as I like to call it, you can then easily find yourself being patient. Because there are moments when Jesus told them, "Oh, you're going to that village, go and heal people and preach." This was before he left. He was still with them. And so they went. And when they went, they were like, "Oh, we tried to cast a demon. And the demon did not come out." And they were confused. What happened? Right? And there were times when you tell them, "Oh, you stay here and then let me go." You see what's happening there? Like it's not like he didn't know what he was doing. Why did he bring them along in those times when he said stay here? And why did he tell them go and then go with them? Right? Because again, there's a time for everything. Like there's little, like when you look into the details of what happened in Jesus' time here on earth and apply it to what we are seeing in our life, it just brings that's part of the peace that we're talking about. It's part of the peace that we talk about when we say the connection to the Holy Spirit gives us all together. But yeah, it's my principles are very much interconnected overall as a person, honestly. Yeah.
Hello, our producer. I said, don't rush, slow touch. Hello.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love that.
Shout out to Funto.
I love that. That's really good.
All right, okay, so because I'm just like I'm looking at time for everybody who's listening, man. See, if you're not like slapping your thighs or just like running around your room, like thinking about, because for me, man, this is crazy.
Thank God. Thank God.
Okay, so I asked this question. I had a friend of mine, Toby, a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
And I asked this question. I want it to be something that I keep asking the people that I bring on.
Okay.
Is that if you could go back, let's say, went back to the Ebenezer who was at Benin University, after the rat poop had come out from the faucet, was very sad, had that traumatic experience. If you could go to that place, him on his bed, and could give him one piece of advice, what would you tell him?
That's I could see where the question was going, and then I was like, an answer?
So good.
What will I say? What's crazy, I'm not even trying to be too deep with it. I'm just trying to think of what I would say. I think what I would say to him is that there is more to why you are where you are now. And the reason why I would say that is because back then, what I was thinking about was my present situation, which was I made a mistake. I've been deceived. I'm ashamed to go back to my parents to say the decision I thought I was very sure about, now I'm wrong about it. And me now being able to tell him that there's a reason, it's just to remind him, or not remind him, just notify him that life is going to be a series of, that's why I learned that thing. That was why I was exposed to this thing. Okay, that's why I needed to go through this thing, because that happened a lot, and it happened from something as small as being in an international law class and the man making a joke about how Nigerians don't know where Cameroon is on the map. And I'm like, what the heck do you mean? I know that. And that was because I had learned it back in secondary school. Down all the way to things like when I was talking to students while being one of the leaders in the prayer department, and they would tell me about their struggle with lust or their struggle with drugs. And I was able to talk to them and then be like, yo, I know exactly how it felt, the feeling of wanting to go grab the codeine and mix it back then with Hollandia and stuff like that. I'm like, I know all of that. Like, so that's what I would tell myself in that moment, which is it's going to be a series of that. And even up to now, it's still it. There are moments where for myself, I'm still like, wow, okay, that was why I had to learn that particular lesson, or that is why I had to go through that particular struggle. And so I guess I would end it telling him, don't shy away from struggles. Don't try to escape being uncomfortable. Because for me personally, being uncomfortable has helped me become better, has helped me move on. Because when I'm comfortable, I get and that's when I'm redundant. Redundant.
Come on.
That's when I don't move. That's when that big box, proverbial box, I stay in it. But by the time I started getting comfortable, it took me being uncomfortable public speaking to get confident, to be able to then handle or like host meetings and stuff like that. It took me being uncomfortable not passing in secondary school to becoming one of the best students in university, right? So like it takes some form of being uncomfortable, some form of acceptance of struggle to then live life, because sometimes we all just want to escape the lows of life, but it's all part of it. Like even Jesus himself literally lived the lows, because that's why I love every message that points out the fact that we don't have a God who doesn't know our struggles. We have a God who knows and lived our struggles. He's not sitting in some heavenly throne, not knowing the fact that we can cry, not knowing the fact that we can hurt, not knowing the fact that we are struggling. He was born in a manger. He lived off donations. You understand? Like he traveled, he walked, he carried his own bags, like, and then even at the dying minutes or hours, he lifted his own cross. He got whipped, like not flogged, whipped, like the whipping where to pull your skin off. And having that type of person as our God should tell us that struggle is part of living. And that's what he came to experience as he was setting us free. Because nothing stopped him as God to say, I wipe it off. A debt needed to be paid and he chose to pay that debt. So us now living our lives, there are going to be consequences for our actions that we take, accept it. There are going to be moments where there are highs, and we're on the mountain top, peak, whatever. But then there are going to be moments where we are low, and it might seem like everything's caving in on us, but walk through it. There is beauty at the end of it, and even if you can't phantom to just think about the end, which is being in front of God and singing songs and living a beautiful life in the new heaven and the new earth. Even if you can't see the phantom that or see that, then see the small victories. See the small victories in the now. See the small victories in the fact that, you're in debt, but are you paying your bills? Yes, you are. See the small victories in the fact that, oh yes, like things are very hard, but did you put food on your table? There's some people who can't put food on their table, but those people are still living. Those people are still happy. In a sense, they find the joy in it, and I guess long-winded way of just giving three answers to myself on that bed, which is life is going to be a series of. That's why you had to go through that. Don't shy away from struggle. And I forget the third one now, but
had to do something with discomfort.
Yes. Get used to being uncomfortable.
I love that, man. I love that so much. Like it reminds me of an episode that we dropped a while ago, like individualism and comfort are killing your potential. And we spoke about we spoke about all those things. And I think for me, it's kind of one of the things that we get a lot on our podcast is people are like, oh man, you guys are always just so emotional and you're always talking about all these deep things. And I'm like, life is real, man.
Yes.
Life is real. And like our podcast, we say like releases dedicated to honoring the middle place.
Amazing.
And the place of that struggle and the place of, not having things figured out. Yes, there are great moments and we laugh and we joke, and we have fun, but we embrace the discomfort and we embrace the pain of the middle because, we know that there's something that God is like doing in that time.
Yep.
Anyways,
That's
man,
amazing.
bro, this was so good. This was so good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ebenezer. Please, everybody, go on.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know, man. Just clap wherever you are. Do whatever you want to do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where can the people find you, Ebenezer?
Oh, yes. You can find me on, you know what? If you want to find me, please help us at, because release is big and we were trying to be big in our own podcast.
Man, you guys have more followers than us.
Doesn't mean. Please, listen to my podcast. Podcast I host with my wife and our friend Couples as well.
Yeah.
It's called A Couple of Couples. But if you want to hit me up, I am more than happy to chat on Instagram. It is EBNZR.O. Just basically Ebenezer or Roman say. That's what it is. Yeah. Full Govy.
And Funto left a note. He said, "Thank you so much for coming, bro. This has been so timely. Look forward to collaborating."
Amazing. Yes, I am. Yes, we are.
Yes, bro.
Yes,
we're also
are.
connected.
It's so crazy. Like Patrick Bruce knows everybody. Like he's just a connection to every single person.
Bro, it's insane. Because I know somebody who was literally like Patrick Bruce's like best friend, like Paul.
Yup.
Like,
Yes. It's
just wild.
Paul was Patrick Bruce's wedding coordinator. He is pretty much his best friend in Alberta. It's crazy.
It's crazy, man.
Such a small world.
It's crazy. But yeah, man. Thank you so much, Ebenezer. We appreciate you so much for release. I love Tuberica as well, man.
I shall let it know.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bless. Thank you.